He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Bat Minute of the Phantasm. This is the podcast where we want you to listen to every minute of us talking about Batman Mask of the Phantasm, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
And I am your other host, John Parker. I want you as a listener. Not you, Niall.
It's the same exact joke.
I know.
It's a goddamn popularity contest with these kids.
There's not much else to say that you can quote, really, other than you ain't the Bat Minute.
You ain't the Bat. But yeah. So we're here doing that as our want, and we're joined by our first guest for this season. We have returning guest who's been on, I think every year. Friend of the show, Claire York.
Hello.
Hey. That I think it is every season, isn't it? Yeah.
I have done every season. Yes, I feel very honoured.
No, we're sorry. We apologise.
No, it's been fun, and I do like Batman, so.
Yeah. Well, actually, it should be, because this movie is acclaimed as like one of the best Batman movies, but every time you mention it in casual conversation to people, a lot of people haven't seen it. Like, it's not really all that, it's recognized amongst, like, Bat fans, but then the wider public are just like, whoa. So had you seen this film before, Claire?
I'm not 100% sure, actually. Because I rewatched it for this. I say rewatched. I watched it for this, and it felt very familiar, but I'm not 100%. I did watch the animated series as a kid, but it's a very long time ago now.
But hey, we're here today to specifically talk about minute 4 of Mask of the Phantasm. It still feels like this should be like minute 16 or 17 because of so much has happened already. Yeah. And it's only the second week of the show. And
this minute's wild.
Yeah, the end of this week too, I could not believe how much happens in like the third minute. I was like, midway through, I was like, it's still going? They're still doing all this? Oh my God. But minute 4, it opens with a flailing felon on the run, and it ends a minute later with a phantasmic figure getting flung. We're here with Chuckie Saul, booting it through this car park. I have to say, I really do appreciate they're sticking true to the old Batman thing from like the word go of like criminals are a superstitious, cowardly lot. Because he's supposed to be like a hardened criminal, and he is so friggin' terrified of just Batman. Like before the Phantasm even shows up, he's flailing. Like, he's a very undignified run through that car park, and he's got a real like.
Well, he's smart, right? That's why he's in the position he is. That's why he's the leader of this group. Is because
that's why he's still alive.
That's why he's still alive, because he knows. Oh, no one can mess with me except for the Bat. Clever. He's like, no, you don't mess with Batman, no matter what. And of course, normally, in this situation, Batman would be waiting for him in the smoke.
Yeah.
Batman's not waiting for him.
That's the thing, yeah. Like, that's too... I was wondering, actually, as I was watching it, because I'm too close to the material now, but I did note, so when he gets to his car, and the smoke arises, and then, the Phantasm initially starts approaching him, they add in the detail of the cape been lined with blue lining instead of gray, because Phantasm got a gray cape. And it's in, the animated continuity, is that, like, it seems as if Batman's supposed to have a blue cowl and cape in this. It's just that it's so dark.
Yeah.
We only see, and then there's certain episodes and certain shots and stuff, you see, like, light will shine directly on it, and it is straight blue. It's just the lighting. So I was wondering, and even the little rectangular, not triangular, plain white eyes. I was wondering if they were trying to go like, oh, maybe it is Batman for people who were first watching it, because they might have thought that was him, but then like he instantly like everything about him is just like that's not Batman. Like it's just, like, he doesn't have smoke coming out of him at all goddamn times. He doesn't sound like that.
Kids are stupid. They're trying to make kids go, oh.
Like when you actually both of you were really watching this for the first time, did you for a split second go like, oh, that's Batman? Like when the Phantasm first emerged, or
no. It's obvious from their build, right? Like you can, it does. I think if they'd kept them more in the smoke and the shadows, and it was just the eyes coming through for longer, that would have been quite like, ooh, what's going on? But almost immediately you see their body.
Yeah. I think as soon as you see like the head and it's not got the pointy ears, it's like, well, like I know the silhouette and that ain't Batman. So it's just it seems like I appreciate what they're trying to do is like, it's kind of giving you over to the Chucky's all thinks it's somebody else, or he thinks it's Batman when it takes him a while to realize that it's someone else. Because I guess that's true of the Gotham criminals. Like they're all suits.
Yeah.
There's not many. It's like, there's probably other people wearing capes and masks and stuff.
So you see a cape, you think Batman.
Yeah. The only other criminal with a cape is like Ra's al Ghul. And then the rest of them they're all suits. They're all like 3-piece suits and stuff.
That's, again, what's very interesting about an animated like series or movie aimed at children. The villains are just guys in suits. It's like kids you'd think would be bored by that, but somehow they're not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the suit's covered in question marks and like he's got a jaunty bowler hat and stuff. I guess
even that's stretching it, I think, for a kid. Like, it's a suit. Yeah. But it's teaching kids who the real villains in the world are. Those in suits.
I do like the idea, though, that like somebody sat in the cinema who knew the animated series, like then saw the silhouette and then just heard like, Chuckie soul, and they're like, they've recast Batman. What the hell? You can't do that. That's not what he sounds like. They instantly just got outraged and walked out of the cinema in those couple of seconds. Like, that's it. If it's not Conroy, I don't want to know about it.
Yeah, someone probably did. I still to this day, I've probably brought this up on the show before, I'm not over watching Prometheus, and you're gonna have to bleep this out now. Like halfway through, someone just stood up in front of me and went, F this, I'll bleep myself. He's just like, F this, and he's walked out of the theater. I was like, oh, okay.
For aliens. Where's the aliens?
Yeah. Oh. But this here, well, I say this, this is the titular Phantasm who comes out of the smoke. But Niall, I know you've got an interesting take on this. Did we bring this up on air?
Well, I think that's the thing, because this is, of course, now we are our introduction to the Phantasm,
Allegedly.
Who would seem to be, the titular Phantasm. We're to take it, but of course, I don't know if you noticed yourself, Claire. They never refer to this character by any name throughout the movie, so it's like the guess that's the Phantasm, I suppose. But yeah, as I say, as John alluded to there, my kind of thinking is, if I'm trying to make it more artsy fartsy than it's probably intended, but I'm like, well, you do see another person put on a mask in the movie very prominently. So I'm thinking the titular Phantasm is Batman himself, and it's all about his origins and stuff like that. Yeah. But
double meaning.
Yeah.
I actually didn't even think about that until you said, and I'm suddenly like, yeah, you're right, they never do. So I've just sort of taken the name of the film and gone, oh yeah, Phantasm. And I mean, I'm right, but still.
Yeah, you are right. I mean, that I think it says that in the credits, and the toy is called that and things.
Yeah, I think even the script that's Phantasm.
But I think maybe you're right in a way. I think maybe it's intended to be a double meaning, because Batman is like, the criminals always see him as like a phantasm. Yeah.
This is, and what happens to him in the flashbacks is the thing that pushes him into the final nudge he needs into dedicating his life to doing what he's done. It's like the heartbreak of been so close to happiness and then it just getting torn away from him, and then it's just instantly into like, nope, I'm into it. Like, that's the next time you see him is he's putting on the mask. Yeah, and it's like that's how it happened. That was like one thing that finally tipped him, like the human vending machine that Bruce Wayne is.
And it is a bit sort of sliding doors, isn't it? Like two people choosing a similar path, but then going different directions with it, whether they want to kill or whatever,
Oh yeah, I always love that. Not just in Batman, I love that in anything where it's like you find out, oh well, your main character almost could have become this character.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love the idea of a Batman played by Gwyneth Paltrow. Then Bruce Wayne goes on to found his own questionable line of beauty products and anti-aging.
I would watch this.
Instead of being called Goop, it's called Whoop for Wayne, I guess. Wayne Whoop.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But one thing I will say, though, about, like, in terms of, okay, so we have the Phantasm, and it seems like, they never called them the Phantasm in the movie. I will say is that because now the character's here, I will say, because there's a lot of stuff to get into, and we want to spread it out over the entire season. But the Phantasm, as a character, is actually based on someone very specifically from one particular comic line. It's based on the character of the Reaper from Batman Year 2, which was published in 1987. It comes from, the writer was a guy called Mike W. Barr, who apparently one of the few people who can boast that he's written for all 4 of the original versions of Star Trek.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, wrote for the original Star Trek, then for TNG, then for Deep Space Nine, then Voyager. I guess then he's like, well, I just couldn't bring it to write for Enterprise.
Am I the only person in the world who likes Enterprise?
I like Enterprise.
Yes. Thank
I
God.
I didn't when I was younger. I didn't. I must admit, but I don't think I gave it a fair shot.
Nobody
But
did. Yeah.
then I rewatched it. I've rewatched it a few more times now, but I enjoyed it a lot more.
I think it's really good. I like all
Just
the
gotta
characters.
ignore the credits.
I
Yeah,
even
the
like the
credits.
credits music.
No, it's bad.
Hey,
It's
I've
really
got
bad.
faith of the heart.
Yeah, you're the only one.
So Reaper was created by Mike W. Barr, who again wrote for all these 4 versions of Star Trek. He's also the creator of the kind of slightly forgotten, but also not by like some hardcore people, Batman and the Outsiders, which was basically like a late 80s, we gotta shine a light on some lesser known characters here, because, people are getting hung up on the usual people all the time. But how do you get people suckered in? It's like, you gotta have Batman there as a kind of like a little through line. So like, there was a very famous cover from Batman and the Outsiders 1, where it's Batman talking to the Justice League with these people behind him, and him going like, I've had it up to here with your 2-bit league. These are my new partners now. And it's like Superman and the Flash going, and the people behind him going like, yeah. And then the Outsiders were like, characters like Black Lightning, who, to be fair, had his own show quite recently.
Yeah.
Metamorpho, Geoforce, Katana, she's of Suicide Squad fame.
Yeah. I can't hear Katana and not think of Mortal Kombat. Different spelling, but still.
Of course, yeah. But look at Katana, that was my big thing of the Suicide Squad. Best character, completely unused, completely wasted in that movie. And just been like, and then she was the actress when she went on. She's in, she's Kamiko now in The Boys. So it's like, well, she got something out of it at least. But
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's Mike W. Barr's big claim to fame, is that he created, Batman and the Outsiders, which is kind of like the basis of then the cartoon show Brave and the Bold, where it's like, we want to shine a light on lesser known DC characters, but you gotta sucker people into watching it somehow. So you put Batman up in front to be like, he's here. Now let me tell you about Geoforce. And you're like, oh.
Hey, it's clever. That's, like Grindhouse movies. That's how you get people to watch it, isn't it? Like, this famous actor is in the movie. They're only in it for 5 minutes.
But I was wondering, in then going through this big long, there's a 4-issue story arc called, it's called Batman Year 2. It's a direct sequel to Batman Year 1.
That was going to be my question. Is it in the same universe? Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be directly continued on. And they bring in the Reaper. I wonder if the reason you never hear the Phantasm referred to as the Phantasm is because initially maybe it was supposed to be the Reaper. And then they're like, we could just like tweak this and then just not name the character that, and then we wouldn't have to pay Mike W. Barr or anybody like residuals for using their character, or
I must say, I did sort of wonder. It's like, we've taken this from Year 2, but we've changed the baddie. It's like, why? So yeah, that could be a good explanation.
Yeah. It's. So go ahead, John.
It could just be can I be really cynical, right? I'm thinking like with my George Lucas hat on. Could just be to sell a new toy. Just change the name. The kids won't know or care. It's the Phantasm. It's totally different.
Oh god, there's notes on the Phantasm toy, but we'll wait for that for a later episode, because that's a whole other entity unto itself.
We'll delve into that when the notes are light.
Yeah. But I'm just going to send you on, though, because you can see the influence, though, of the Reaper. The Reaper is basically a villain, very like the Phantasm, shadowy, Angel of Death looking kind of character, who showed up and kept taking out criminals and whatnot. and I put it in the chat here. There's very clear influences. So if you guys look at the picture I've sent there, you'll see. But if you can notice something, I'm going to have to say I'm glad they changed it, or they at least altered it a bit, because the Reaper's got one or two things that are just stupid to me that I'm very glad didn't really cross over.
Well, I'm going to say there's two things that are, well, three technically. Okay, so 1 and 2. What the hell are these hooks?
Yeah,
these are so far beyond like sensible. But also their armor looks remarkably like Dracula's from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
That's what I've
It
written down.
does, yeah.
Yeah. One of Francis Ford Coppola's was like, oh, I was a really big fan of that Batman here too. But yeah, the proper Vlad the Impaler.
I like how as well they've got this cape thing on, and they're also like, but I have to show this awesome bodysuit.
yeah, it's not like showing off your awesome body. Why are you bothering?
Yeah. I thought they like Coppola's thing probably was like, well, that suit was designed to be like the musculature under the skin or something like that. But he's like, no, secretly I was just ripping off Batman year 2. But no, the friggin' these hooks really bug. Like the entire time reading the story, it's like they're so ostentatious and they're so stupid, and they're even like, because the Phantasm thing I always thought was a bit. You see how practical it is throughout this minute. Like, Chuckie Saul tries to empty a clip into the Phantasm, and then the gun gets sliced in two, because presumably Andrea Beaumont was watching, an infomercial at night for the Gingsu knife that can cut through a shoe or something. She's like,
remember those ads? Oh, yeah.
It's like, I can cut through a tin can? I know what I'm putting in my hand now. I gotta tell you that.
On QVC, they always advertised this pen that was so strong you could jam it through a can of Coke. And I was like, I want that pen. Why?
Yeah.
And they threw it into a dartboard and stuff.
Because everyone needs a pen like that.
Exactly. Indestructible. It's absolutely perfect.
But yeah, these giant claws, I don't feel like you could get around. You'd have to like wait for people to come to you, but then you'd slice their head off.
Yeah, whereas the Phantasms one in the movie, I mean, we don't see it like until a bit later in the minute, but that looks a lot more practical. And it reminded me, slightly different shape, but of the Roman Scissor. Have you seen like some gladiators would wield?
Oh.
Yeah, it's quite like that. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Well, I say that gladiators would wield. It wasn't known to be like a hugely common weapon when you look at it. There's only 1 or 2 examples of art of it, and they're like, I guess they used it. But it looks like that thing, where it's like I don't know what you call it, like a gauntlet that you hold onto, and it's got like a blade in a semicircle, kind of.
Yeah. No, they're particularly the gauntlet element of it. It's incredibly much more similar than the Reaper's kind of. And the Reaper's thing's even dopier because as the story goes on, like those little spikes in it, they retract and then a gun will come out.
Oh, for God's sake!
Yeah, it's really, really. And sometimes he only has the one on. But the rest of the time, it's the 2, and it's just like, it's a design flaw, man. It's just, it looks, it's too much. I guess it's supposed to be like a scythe. I get it. I get it's Angel of Death kind of stuff, but
it is. But it's also, I'm going really out there with this one. I'm going to say it's anti-communist propaganda. They've got a sickle and they're wearing red.
It's just like, they're back. The commies are back in the 80s. We gotta stick it to them.
Exactly, and who can take them down? Only the Bat can defend America.
But yeah, so more stuff will come up because again, this movie is kind of a loose adaptation of year 2. So I'll bring up several things about it as we progress throughout the show. But I will say that, much like the Phantasm, the Reaper also did have a little catchphrase where it'd always say, "You will fear the Reaper" and stuff.
Wait, is that meant to be like a reference to "Don't Fear the Reaper"?
I'm guessing so. It's every murder. There was always like the first one too. He's a bit too chatty, is the problem I think, because I love this, like the Chuckie Saul, your angel of death awaits.
Oh, that voice is so cool, and I love the way in character it's clearly going through like a filter. Because when you find out who the Phantasm is, that makes loads of sense. Like, I'm gonna put my voice through a filter deliberately.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I do love the voice and their little speech, your angel of death awaits. I do quite like that.
There's a fine line though between, I think this is what you're probably going to get to now, like between your spooky character speaking and not speaking. Like, as I always bring up, wrestling, The Undertaker, once he started speaking all the time, for me personally, takes away the spookiness. He's not like a weird undead zombie man anymore. Now he's chatting nonsense and coming out on a motorbike to Limp Bizkit. And you're like, what? No!
Of course, that was classically like when we were covering Batman Returns. Like, we talked about like how, because the Dan Waters draft of that movie was just trash. Like, it really, Wesley Strickland gets way more credit for making that movie what it is, because really saved a terrible, terrible script. And one of the main problems was the Penguin was constantly talking. And then, of course, when even the revised drafts, Michael Keaton famously went through and just like put a big red X through all of Batman's dialogue. Just like, doesn't need to say this, doesn't need to say any of this. Just no. The more silent the character is, the better. But yeah, when the Reaper first shows up, he has a freaking big long monologue. Just like, who am I? To know me is to know fear. Fear the Reaper, I have killed him, and you soon shall follow into death. Callow youth, there are many doors to the realm of death, and the Reaper holds the key to them all. It's like, all right, chatty Cathy, like, Jesus Christ, I get it,
Yeah, they look around and everyone's left, like, oh, crap.
Yeah, it's definitely too much. Come on, pick your words carefully.
Yeah.
Says us, who records like an hour for each episode.
Of course, yeah. But yeah, so... I have to say, though, so we get the initial confusion of, you ate the bat, and then Chucky Soul empties an entire clip into the Phantasm. And weirdly, like, it is kind of, they're really going out of the way to make it seem like it is a ghost. Because
I wrote down it's a, what have I put? It's a spectre.
Yeah. And it's like... famously, Batman, and we'll talk about it later in this very week because it kind of comes up. He's a guy, he's just wearing tights, basically. He's wearing like a leotard in this version. And you do see, like, in the initial pilot for the show, they would have, like, people firing at Batman and him, like, contorting his body around in bizarre shapes to kind of get out of the way of the bullets and stuff because he can't take a direct hit. Yeah. And it's weird that, like, even firing through... the sound effects make it sound like as the bullets are ricocheting off the back walls and stuff. It really makes it seem like these bullets are going through the character. I was just wondering, I was like, what sorcery did Andrea Beaumont work? Because she doesn't even, her in the outfit doesn't even flinch. Like, there's, a bullet hitting you square in the chest, an entire clip of a gun hitting you square in the chest. You would at least go like, ugh. In the opening of '89, those two guys freaking fire the Batman and knock him plain down, and he gets back up. That's the scary part, is that they got him down and he gets back up again. This doesn't even phase the Phantasm.
Well, that's why I'll be honest, I never suspected who it actually was. Because of things like this. I was like, well, there's obviously another element at play here, but I never would have zeroed in on what it is. It's even if you're wearing the best armor in the world, you're going to flinch.
That's a question for you, Claire, actually. Sorry, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, it does make you wonder what it's made of, doesn't it? The outfit. And like you say, even a bulletproof vest, you still get hurt. You just don't die.
Yeah.
Well, you can still die. That's the thing.
You could still die, yeah.
It just doesn't pass through you. And they're actually, this is a weird thing. They're actually, I say this, I mean, the last time I saw one was like 15 years ago, but they're quite fragile. Because I remember my dad had one for when he was going to Iraq, and he dropped it getting it out of the car, so he had to take it back. Because if it gets damaged once, it's done. If you drop it on the floor, you can't use it again because it's like ceramic plates, and once they're cracked, they're useless. So he dropped it. And it's like thousands of pounds down the drain. Like, oh damn it!
You'd think if there was some kind of technology that was this level, then Batman would already have it with all the money that Bruce has.
That's an excellent point. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, that's ruined the movie for me.
And he's just like, no, I just really like, wearing tights and stuff. Sorry, guys.
I mean, don't we all? But still.
My personal headcanon for it, to be fair, was that, like, Andrea is really committed to the bit. and like people just wouldn't see her coming. So they're in a casino. Like that was where they were. They're up in the Shady Lady Casino. I guess now he's dealing with a particularly shady lady in this very scene. But I'm thinking, Chucky Saul was down, earlier having drinks and stuff. Cocktail waitress comes up, takes his gun, puts in a load of blanks, and then
that's cunning.
Yeah, because then that would be like, even if he gets away, she doesn't successfully kill him at this moment, he'll be like, what the hell? Like, it was like a ghost came at me. Like, I fired the entire thing. It didn't do anything. It was crazy.
And it's clearly all very planned, isn't it? So I suppose that's entirely possible because they've obviously been thinking about it for a while. They've come up with the lines to say they've got their sweet outfit and the smoke going on, and
Yeah. It is. Knows exactly where his car is. Probably been waiting there a while. So yeah, I'm happy to go. Like, it probably was she was in there posed as a waitress or something. And she's just got the dexterity and the skills now to be like, yep, just took his gun out, put in a load of blanks, just in case. And then maybe even not so much for the theatricality of it. It was just that for when he attacks me, I won't get hurt because he'll be firing blanks at me and it'll be totally fine. But
I like this.
Speaking of the smoke, though, where is that coming from? Like, has she got like a smoke machine attached to her back or what? Like,
I think we do see later in the movie when she's fighting the Joker, it's coming out of like a little Spider-Man hole in her glove. Where Peter Parker would shoot out his webs. Is she going to put out the fist and you see the swirls of smoke come out of it?
Yeah, but how much?
No, so it's a smoke machine up her arm, not on her back, basically.
How much dry ice has she got? I've used a smoke machine. You need a lot of dry ice.
It could be this, those crazy, what they call like long form macromolecular polymers or whatever.
Yeah, okay, we're going with that.
Well, I have got some information on that later, but that's for the 3rd minute, I believe.
Oh. Yes, of course.
I tried to get a lot of information and was staring at it for about 15 minutes, like, I don't know what I'm reading.
Oh yeah, it's dense.
Yeah.
it's very much more scientifically minded people than I, at least. Anyway.
We get that line that you mentioned. I love that. Your angel of death awaits. And as they say that, I was just staring at them and taking it all in. And I loved the mask. The mask of the Phantasm. It reminded me of, this is going to be a bit of a weird one, of Mick Thompson, Slipknot's guitarist. Though I suppose this came first. So maybe the Slipknot guitarist, well, one of their guitarists, they have multiple, maybe he was inspired by this. I don't know. He said it's just like a hockey mask, but to me it looks like this.
It could be.
No, I totally see it.
Yeah, there's a vibe, right?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Just wondered, did he come out on stage to a load of smoke and stuff as well? Slipknot probably did. Yeah, totally. Yeah,
I could see Slipknot being into Batman.
Oh, totally. Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
But no, it is a good mask though, because it's sort of skeleton-y, but also not.
Yeah, there is as well as a Slipknot vibe. There's a Skeletor thing going on, isn't there? Sadly, not as charismatic as Skeletor.
It turns out that guy actually is Andrea Beaumont underneath that mask. It's like that mask just happens to catch like Robin one day is watching Slipknot in concert and he's like, wait a minute, what the hell? I know that mask.
Turns out Slipknot would all make great Batman villains. I mean, one of them is a clown, for God's sake.
maybe they all actually are just straight up modeled on Batman villains.
They probably are. They've never mentioned it, but you know what? We've discovered your secrets, Corey Taylor. Sean, what's your face?
The other one. But of course, we get some reactions from Chucky Saul. I do love that you can who are you? What do you want? And then the I want you, Chucky boy, which I guess is doing that's a little nod to like the Uncle Sam poster from the.
Oh, I love the way you went that way, whereas I thought it was a little bit sexy. I want you, Chucky boy.
It made me wonder, is that like an existing nickname? Like, would he be like, oh, they know me? Or is it like, why are they, is it just an overfamiliar kind of thing?
Oh, that's a good point. Like, maybe only his close friends call him that. So it's...
Yeah, like, did her dad call him that or something?
Yeah. Oh, I like that theory. Yeah, so then it makes him even more creeped out. Like, how the hell do you know?
Like, wait a second. You might even half click that it's some kind of connection there.
Yeah.
Only one person has ever called me Chucky Boy in my life.
Exactly. It's such an obscure kind of name to be called after all.
That's the thing, because he's so terrified. I was like, he's a man of the age that he might have been like drafted. So him seeing like I want you, getting flashbacks of the Uncle Sam poster, but like I've got a real mask of the Sam-tasm going on here. Like, oh.
New Batman villain just dropped, Uncle Sam.
Because like I remember I got shipped off to Korea because of this asshole.
Yeah, that would be a good villain, right?
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's all coming back. It's all coming back.
But then I just think of South Park, where is it Cartman going like, "Look out for Charlie, it's up in the trees."
But one thing we have to, listeners might be furious of the fact we've not mentioned it yet, but Chucky Soul does have a very distinctive voice.
Yes.
Great vocal performance coming from a very well-known actor. Do you know who this is, Claire? Did you click who it was from hearing the sound of him, or?
I was just like, I know this person, and I did look it up, but I didn't just guess. But then I was like, oh my god, yes!
Yeah,
I love him. I love him.
I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in with it, but
No, it's yours. You brought it up first, so it's yours.
well, of course, this is the great distinctive voice of a great distinctive actor. This is Dick Miller. And if you were sitting there going like, I don't know any Dick Miller, I've never seen that guy.
Oh, you do.
Yes, you have. You've definitely seen him in something. He's a guy, massive. He's like the king of it's that guy. Like, throughout the last 6 decades, he kept showing up in something where you're like, oh, it's him. Mostly you would remember him for one of 2 roles, really. Of course, one being Mr. Futterman from Gremlins.
I think that's my number one. Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Futterman, of course, the character who did a complete, the first movie, he's the crotchety neighbor who's a bit racist, and, a bit against, like, oh, it's Japanese cars and all this. He really has a bit.
That's where Gremlins come from, is the war, isn't it? So
yeah. I think it's supposed to be like he is realistically the crotchety old man around the neighborhood and stuff.
Yep.
And then the second movie, they kind of make him into much more of a lovable kind of guy. Like, oh, I love Mr. Futterman. He's like the hero of the whole thing now. Didn't he die in the first one? Like, no, he's fine.
We'll explain it away. It's okay.
Or we won't.
Well, they just go, well, he survived.
Yeah. Because actually, Claire should ask, beyond Gremlins, what would you think of when you see Dick Miller?
The Burbs.
Of course, yeah.
Little Shop of Horrors. He's in that briefly as well.
Is that the original one?
No, he's in the singing one.
Oh, is he?
It's the original.
One?
I swear it's in the singing. Wait, which one is it?
He's in the original because
No, it is the original. Sorry, isn't it? Yeah, I always get confused which way around it is. And he's in Small Soldiers, which I really like.
Oh, yeah, that's an underrated movie. I just randomly caught that. It was only about 5 years ago I watched it, right? I never watched it as a kid. It was on TV, and I was like, oh, this trash. And then I got hooked within 5 seconds and watched the whole thing.
I went to Small Soldiers in the cinema. Like, that was big in it back in the day. But yeah, because one of the other big things, too, would be like he's the guy who Arnie kills in the Terminator. He buys the guns. Say he buys the guns from him. He comes in, Dick Miller shows him loads of guns, and then he's just like, I'll just shoot you and take them. And then I suppose people the world over were like, oh yeah, can you just do that? Like, can you go into a gun shop and just kill the guy and steal the guns?
I mean,
they do it quite a bit in TV and film, don't they? So I guess so.
I guess. I mean, that has so many iconic things from my childhood. That scene, though, that's where I first discovered laser sights, because he uses it there. Yeah. That's where I first discovered most weapons, was that scene with the Uzi 9mm.
Yeah. But so there we have him, like, directly interacting with our previous Mr. Freeze. And of course, you can't not mention Claire, like, you mentioned bringing up Little Shop of Horrors. Because who else was in Little Shop of Horrors, the original version, but Jack Nicholson?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
there you go. And they had Dick Miller, he plays, he's not Seymour. He's he's just a guy who keeps coming into it's weird watching it. Like, he's just some local who keeps coming into the shop to buy flowers so he can eat them.
Yes,
His secret
that's
shame.
it.
Yeah.
I remembered he was the one who came to the shop, but because I watched the newer one most recently, I'd sort of merged the two in my head and was just picturing him coming into the shop and being like, hello.
Yeah, I don't think they even have him like a replacement character for him in the remake. I think he's just
No, but there is someone who pops in and sort of like, oh, wow, what's that in the window there kind of thing. And that's where I've kind of merged it, you see.
Yeah. Of course, there's a lot of influence from Little Shop of Horrors, both versions, on Batman and Robin in general. This old Poison Ivy's, her animal plant hybrids and all this business. But of course, that's where Dick Miller comes from. He's it's like things he always comes across like he's a grouchy old guy, but he was so beloved by everybody who worked with him.
Yeah,
like
it's a character.
Yeah, he like started off. But he has a PhD. He had a PhD in psychology.
Whoa.
Yeah, I read when I was reading up about him, I was like, wow, I'm well impressed with that.
Yeah, and to hear him talk about himself, though, you wouldn't think it. Like, he'd be like, I got a PhD. I'm a pretty huge Dick Miller. But he said, like, he was going to college and he went to, like, an upholstery. He wanted to learn upholstery or something. And then he said, like, oh, yeah, but the hours were too early, so I just went to the acting school next door. And then, he was originally a writer. He was a big sci-fi guy, and he went to Roger Corman. And he wanted to pitch. He was there to pitch, like, sci-fi ideas to Roger Corman. And Corman was like, oh, no, we got enough writers. But you can be in the movie if you want. And then Roger Corman liked work with him. And that's why he's in, like, tons of Roger Corman movies, including immediately before Little Shop of Horrors, there's Bucket of Blood, which I think is the only movie he ever played the lead in. He's like the main character. A character called Walter Paisley, which will haunted him throughout his career because then the amount
I was about to say he kept being called that, didn't he?
Yeah, I think his last role is Rabbi Walter Paisley in some random movie.
I like it though when an actor has like a thing.
I think he was bugged by it though. There's a great documentary called That Guy Dick Miller, and it's annoying because like I remember there was a documentary about Jack Nance, and it was called "You Don't Know Jack." Because he's like, oh, you know him, but you don't know him.
One of the greatest quiz games on the computer ever. You don't know Jack. Amazing. And the spiritual successor to it is Jackbox.
Oh, there you go.
Hence Jack in the title.
Yeah. But I'm annoyed though that Jack Nance got there first because it's like you could have called this documentary "You Don't Know Dick," and it would have been like it's been perfect.
Plus, I've genuinely heard someone say that as a line.
Oh yeah, no, that's just the phrase. That's just
yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah, but like in that they're bringing up like Walter Paisley been a recurring character name, and Dick Miller seems very agitated by it because like it's not him. It's because he was in all these Roger Corman movies, and then the next generation of filmmakers saw all those, loved him, put him in their movies, and then they're like, well, he's called Walter Paisley, like in Bucket of Blood, and he's like, whatever. And then people keep saying to him, like, oh, you're playing the same character. He's like, no, it's not the same character. It's a completely different guy. Like, he seems to get bugged by it. But yeah, so in Bucket of Blood, he's like, the whole storyline is that he's a guy who wants to be an artist in a beatnik club, and he accidentally kills a cat. And then he covers the cat in clay, and everyone thinks it's a statue, and then think he's an amazing sculptor. And then it spawns from there, where he kills people and puts them in the clay, and everyone keeps thinking he's getting better and better, and then his ego grows and grows and stuff. But very similar in a lot of ways to Little Shop of Horrors in terms of what happens with the Seymour's arc. And so much so that like he was originally supposed to be Seymour, and he was like, no, I don't want to play that same character again. But I'll be in the movie. And then they just gave him like, oh, you can come in and like eat flowers. Like, yeah, sure.
Why not? Yeah,
I'm in.
And because back in the day, it's like there's no budget on those movies. He's actually eating actual flowers. So he's just like, oh, it's disgusting. Yeah, like I hated it, but you commit to the bit. Because then went on to star in like hundreds and hundreds of things. Every movie that Joe Dante has made. Joe Dante's still going. Dick Miller, of course, tragically died in 2019. I say tragically. He was like 91 or something. It's like, well, he had a good run, but still working up to the day he died and stuff. But yeah, Joe Dante has not made a feature since. So it's technically still true that Dick Miller has been in every feature film that Joe Dante, the director of Gremlins, and as you said there, Claire, Small Soldiers, sorry.
Different film.
Yeah. And The Burbs. In that documentary, there's a great behind-the-scenes clip of them on the set of The Burbs. and like Corey Feldman's like hanging around the set, beside the trash can, because it's him and Robert Picardo or trash can, or trash men or rubbish men, what do we call them over here?
Bin man over here.
Bin men over here. And Corey Feldman's just like singing and like dancing around between takes, and Dick Miller's just like, shut the fuck up, kid, we're trying to do some acting here. Like he has like no time for his childish antics and stuff.
He doesn't sanction his buffoonery.
Exactly, he does not sanction.
Maybe more people should have said that to him anyway, because if you've seen him performing live where he's basically Michael Jackson, it's bad. It's really bad.
Oh yeah,
and not in the Michael Jackson way of being bad.
Yeah.
Oh, it is like
he's no Thriller.
I like him and I feel for everything he's been through, but when he's trying to be Michael Jackson so much, it's embarrassing.
Exactly. You just feel like someone needed to go, no, just maybe give him a hug.
Yeah. But yeah, so like a billion things. The only thing he's ever cut out of that he's apparently very sore about is that he was supposed to be in Pulp Fiction. He was Monster Joe of Monster Joe's Truck and Tow, who like Harvey Keitel and Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson will take the dead body to Phil Lamar's dead body.
Oh, I could see him playing that part. Yeah.
Well, you can get the scene on YouTube now. It's just a deleted scene. But like, I think Dick Miller's just like, it was a big part. Like I was in it for like a good couple of minutes, and like that movie was so big, and I was like, oh, why me? Why did I get cut? Like there's a lot of stuff you could have got out of that, and like what? So I think he kind of took it a little bit to heart that he got cut, but yeah, I would highly recommend that. That's available through Amazon, I believe. You can get that guy Dick Miller, and it's just lovely too. The actual ending of it, because he's just so celebrated, and he's like. They go into he was an artist. He did amazing drawings. Like he's all these recurring bits throughout his entire life and stuff. And then at the very end, it just ends with him like looking in the camera, going like, "Well, I'm really old now, and I gotta tell you, I think this is it for me. I'm not gonna do any more pictures. I think I'm just done. I'm tired. I want to go." And then like the phone rings, and he picks up the phone. He's like, "Hello." Oh yeah, I'm available, and it just kind of cuts the black and like, hey, there's him.
That's amazing.
Also, that's a phrase we need to bring back. Everyone across the world, call a movie a picture.
Yeah,
I miss it.
Well, we'll get back to talking about this Mask of the Phantasm picture over here.
Yeah, let's talk about.
Can I just say one more thing about Dick Miller though, which is that going back to Star Trek, he was in Star Trek as well.
Of course. Yeah. He's
there you go.
I think he's just like it's Deep Space Nine he's in, isn't it?
He's in TNG and Deep Space Nine, actually.
Oh, right.
So this season, every season we have all these actors who are from the same things. In '89 it was the Bill, wasn't it?
Of course.
So this season, is it going to be Star Trek? Because I'm excited for that.
I'm thinking it could be. I'm willing to put money down on Freakazoid because it's already happened. We keep bringing up Freakazoid.
Yeah, but that's more like the crew, right?
No, there's someone up later this week who's like, well, they're in Freakazoid.
Well, true.
Yeah, but there's just so much about Dick Miller. Like, and we do have him for another minute after this, but like, it's again, the guy's had like 60-year plus career, so it's like many little tidbits you can bring up about him.
It did make me very happy when I found out it was him. I was very, very happy indeed.
I think that's his. Again, aside from all the crouching, the grouchiness of him, it's just like people love them. It's like the fact Joe Dante's like, yeah, I have to have him in. Like, I'm not having it, and then the whole other all those guys who came from the Corman kind of oeuvre, they're all like, yeah, I don't know, we have to get him in. Like, that's just Dick Miller. Like, he'll be in the, like, you just have to write a part for him somewhere because you have to have him. It's like a sanctioned thing that he has to be in the movie.
Exactly. He can be anywhere, he can be queuing for a taxi, anything. Just stick him in there.
Yeah.
Remember he's in was it the Tales from the Crypt movie, Demon Knight? Like, amazing movies, like Uncle Willie, the sleazy uncle, and that. And it's like, that movie's so good, but then the fact that it's like just, oh, by the way, Uncle Willie is played by Dick Miller, like, oh my god,
instant improvement.
Yeah, holy moly. I always recommend that movie, but I will say, if anyone's ever looking for like a really spooky, good, fun time, Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight is like, holy Christ, that's a great movie. But
in this minute, there's something I actually really like. I say that as if I didn't like any of the other stuff, but the Phantasm proves fallible in this minute. So I think, in a way, it's very interesting. It reveals they're not a ghost because a passing car distracts them long enough for Sol to attempt an escape.
Yeah.
So it makes you go, oh, hang on. This isn't like mystical. That is a person under there.
Yeah.
Because a ghost wouldn't be distracted by a car. You know,
Yeah,
a
because
vengeful thing.
it starts so seamless, like, this is all how I've planned it out. This is going perfect. You know, I've got all my lines down. He's freaking out. He thinks I'm Batman. Now he knows I'm not Batman, but he's still really scared. And then it's like, oh, got distracted. And then it's like they've kind of lost their thread, haven't they?
Yep. Yeah, it sort of ruins the plan a little bit. And it shows they are fallible. They are human. You can defeat them.
And that they're probably inexperienced.
Yes, yes. Which, when we find out who it is, makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I did wonder who was in that car, though, because it must be like the fact they would have heard already a clip getting emptied in Batman's direction. And then just like all this crap happening, just like, Jesus Christ, I gotta get out of this casino because there's a freaking brawl happening next door.
It's normal for Gotham, you know.
Yeah, I guess it probably would be just like, freaking, it's either a car backfiring or it's somebody emptying a clip into Batman or
it's
one of
yet
his,
another
or vice versa.
I got some Terminator vibes as well. You know, when Sol's attempting to escape, you know, he gets in the car and he drives off. And then the Phantasm just leaps onto the bonnet, the hood for you Americans, and smashes through the windscreen. I was like, that's like Terminator. That's exactly what he does in the first movie.
Oh, totally. Maybe it was a deliberate little like, well, you know, Dick Miller, we got him there. It's kind of a...
And that is, I think, to me, that is up there with some of the greatest bits of Terminator, is that in that first movie when he jumps on the car, and it's one of the best bits of music as well. It's that crazy 80s synth going on, like...
Oh, yeah. But the first Terminator movie is basically, it's like a redressed slasher film. And that's why maybe that's why I like Mask of the Phantasm so much. It's like, oh yeah, I love all slasher movies and stuff. So
I did feel like they have kind of Michael Myers vibes as well at the beginning, don't they? Because they're they don't speed up; they're just moving very slowly.
Yeah,
obviously they do speak, but other than that, it did give me a bit of Michael Myers vibes initially.
There's something about slowly walking that's creepy, right? They're not in a rush; they're gonna get you anyway.
It kind of it belies them having some control. They're like, well, if they're not even hurrying to get me, it must means that they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like this, it's all in hand. But one thing I will say too, like, I don't know if this would have been deliberate, but it's the way like the car is zooming towards them, the Phantasm jumps up onto the hood and then like, you know, tears him through with its weird gauntlet thing. Of course, we see a character do that, something quite similar later in the movie, where Bruce Wayne is taking on those thugs outside the World's Fair, when Andrea Beaumont is there watching him, and the guy comes towards Bruce on the motorbike, and he just jumps up onto he kind of puts his foot on the hood and then kicks the guy off the bike. I kind of wondering, like, maybe that's where she's getting, like, I know how to deal with this. It's like, I've seen a guy freaking do it with a motorbike one time, you know? It's like, maybe it's supposed to be a little through line, like, oh, she saw Bruce do this years ago, and it's all part of, you know, mounted in her mind of, like, the part and parcel inspiration for the Phantasm and stuff. But maybe not, you know.
But you also know that she, obviously it's later in the film, but that she's had some martial arts training, so
yeah,
she's got her own skills even without having seen Bruce at it.
But yeah, so I just like that little parallel there, if it's a deliberate parallel, which I'm choosing to believe that it would be. So but yeah, of course, then we do get the Chuckie Soul just like does a manic swerve, and the Phantasm goes flying, and that's the end of this minute at least. So
yeah. Now I did. Well, actually, no, that's another good point. You said they go flying. That also ties in to humanizing the villain and showing that they have flaws and they can be defeated. Because if they're supernatural, if they're a ghost, they're not going to fly off the car.
Yeah,
exactly. They're always going to be able to hang on.
Yeah, so it's like little clues, little snippets of information for you.
Yeah, it might be part of why Chucky's the next minute he's like, oh, I'm going to go run them over, because it's like, well, clearly it's just some asshole in an outfit.
Yeah.
So,
well, that probably is part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a juxtaposition of the maybe of the planned side of it and the spookiness versus the reality of the situation. And, you know, like they say with serial killers where, you know, they fantasized about the thing they're going to do, but when they actually do it, that's why they can get sloppy, because, you get caught up in the moment, things don't go to plan.
Yeah, that's
You
the
know.
thing. I know it's morbid, but it's the current world we live in. Everybody loves serial killer related news and videos and things. But whenever you do watch them, they always slip up in like such a stupid way because they get drawn, like they go back to the scene and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you idiot. Well, the only other note I have here is about the character of the Phantasm appearing in 2 video games.
Oh.
I don't know if you had this, yeah. Niall, you probably are aware of this one. In Batman Arkham Origins, there are references to the Phantasm.
Yeah, indeed.
Postcards sent from Andrea to Bruce can be seen in the Batcave. And they mention that she's looking for a father and things like this. So it's there's little references there. And also in Lego DC Supervillains, which I haven't played that one, the Phantasm is a playable character if you get the DLC pack. The animated series DLC pack, and she has the ability. I gave the game away. They have the ability
quite a few times already.
Yeah, I know, to travel through vents and smash walls with their scythe.
I was wondering, like, in approaching the Phantasm throughout the rest of the season, what should we do in terms of pronouns? Because it's like, well, the Phantasm is a she. So, but then you feel compelled to be saying, well, he, because it appears the Phantasm's male for most of the movie. But
that's why I give you permission to say they.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I thought, are we going to actually mention who it is? So I was going to just say they, but then you started saying Andrea, so I was like, well.
I think we can. Like, I think the initial, because John hadn't seen the movie prior, and for a moment I was thinking, like, maybe we could go through minute by minute without John having seen it first. And then it's like, there's going to be too many people coming in.
It's not going to work, yeah.
Just telling you. They're going like, well.
That's true. You just get it ruined before you even knew it.
Yeah. Otherwise, it'd be back-ended with like that thing about like, oh, maybe Andrea picked up on jumping on the vehicle from Bruce. I'd have to like mention that after the reveal. Then you'd end up having like 40 things you have to mention.
That's true. You'd have to have like a post. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm noted out for this minute.
Yeah, we will
I think that's everything I had to say.
We'll head off into the dark, dark night then. We didn't ask you this beforehand, Claire. Do you have anything you want to plug? I don't know. Are you doing anything, or do you just want to send people to a certain website, a certain thing you're passionate about?
No. Just keep on doing what you're doing. You're doing great.
All of you. Keep on doing
everybody in the world.
And if you want to speak to us, we're on Facebook at the Bat-Minute Listeners Cave. We're on Twitter at Bat-Minute, Instagram, The Bat-Minute, and why don't you check out our other show we've got going, Miami Minutes, about the so-called terrible movie Miami Connection. But guess what? Spoiler alert, it's not terrible. If you think it's terrible, you're wrong. So come and listen to me and Niall talk about how amazing a martial arts epic about drug-dealing ninjas on motorbikes is. And we will see you again on Wednesday for more Bat-Minute of the Phantasm.
Next time, Crash Bandicoot. Because there's a crash, and Chuckie Saw is a criminal, so like a bandit, and he's old, so coot, and forget about it. A Jedi jump over a jalopy. A sordid senior soaring down from above. And not much left of Chuckie Saul, barring a bucket of blood. The newest cutthroat terror in town has toe-tagged their first target, but which animated masked manhunter might take the fall for it? With fingers pointed to play for next episode, folks. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
I must have up, dear fit,